everybody, and welcome to today's video. And in today's video, I'll be doing a 2024 election prediction between AOC and Lauren Boebert. When a lot of people do a lot of these predictions, things like this, I feel like they typically do AOC and MTG, which I could see why. I feel like this is more fitting though. A lot of people typically see AOC as, yes, fairly far to her side of the aisle, whereas Marjorie Taylor Greene is just a straight up conspiracy theorist. Whereas Lauren Boebert and AOC are more similar in terms of how far they are to their sides of the aisle. Also, they're both very young for politics. They're actually both, I think, too young to currently legally run for president. I think they're both legally old enough too in 2024, though. So I feel like this is probably a more fitting matchup. But so labeling all of AOC's likely states: Colorado, New Mexico, Virginia, New Hampshire, Maine's second, or Maine at large, Nebraska's second, and that is it. Whereas Lauren Boebert gets Nebraska's first, Iowa, Ohio, South Carolina, Maine's second, and Alaska. In Colorado, Lauren Boebert's going to do pretty well with the rural vote, whereas AOC is probably going to do meh with the Hispanic and Latino vote. New Mexico, AOC is going to really struggle with the working class. Lauren Boebert's going to do alright, and she's going to do very well with the rural vote. AOC is going to do decent with the Hispanic and Latino vote. In Virginia, AOC is going to do decent in the suburbs. She's going to do really poorly with the black vote, and Lauren Boebert's going to do really well with the rural vote. I could see Virginia being lean, but I find it unlikely. In New Hampshire, AOC is going to do well enough with white rural college educated voters. In Maine at large, I mean, it's a fairly similar thing. It's pretty inelastic, but it's a little bit to the left of New Hampshire. Nebraska's second. AOC is not particularly strong for the suburbs. But Lauren Boebert is fairly weak, so the suburbs will probably shift a little bit to the left. And at least a little bit, maybe actually shift significantly. In Nebraska's first, fairly similar thing. With a suburban shift. Iowa, Lauren Boebert's too strong for rural voters, and AOC is too weak. Ohio, AOC is going to struggle with black voters. The suburbs might shift a little bit to the left, but she's going to do horrendously with the working class, and Lauren Boebert's going to do very well with the rural vote. Maine second, Lauren Boebert has no populist appeal against somebody like AOC, who has hardly any. In South Carolina, I could see her becoming a populist, or having the populist appeal that somebody like a progressive like Bernie or Sherrod Brown might have. But for now, I think Lauren Boebert probably carries it likely. In South Carolina, Boebert is going to do very well with the rural voters. AOC is not going to do very well with black voters. She's not going to do very well with black voters. In Alaska, AOC, we're going to see more and more Native American voters turning out, continuing to shift the state to the left. I don't see AOC being particularly strong or necessarily weak for Native American voters, but she's pretty weak for oil workers. For AOC's lean states, she has Nevada and Minnesota. In Nevada, I see Lauren Boebert getting pretty decent rural turnout, and AOC getting probably similar, maybe a little bit less Hispanic and Latino turnout. Sorry, a little bit less, or similar to or less Hispanic and Latino turnout. Probably, it'll probably be narrowed up or stay fairly similar though. In Minnesota, Lauren Boebert's gonna do pretty well with the rural vote, do decent with the working class. AOC won't do very well in the suburbs, even though they'll probably continue to shift a little bit to the left, and she won't turn out many voters in Minneapolis. For Lauren Boebert's lean state, she gets Texas, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. So in Texas, she's gonna get pretty good rural turnout. AOC is gonna do pretty poorly with the Hispanic and Latino vote. AOC is gonna do just well enough in the suburbs to make it lean. It honestly though could be likely. AOC is too weak for Hispanic and Latino voters probably, so it'll probably be likely. In Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, just keep in mind that Wisconsin is more conservative than Pennsylvania. Lauren Boebert is gonna get pretty good rural turnout. AOC is going to do decent in the suburbs, but she probably won't do that well. It'll likely just be them naturally shifting to the left and Lauren Boebert being pretty weak. AOC is going to do really bad with the working class, probably. And she's going to struggle to turn out voters. She's going to struggle with the black vote, which will give them to Boebert lean. Honestly, Wisconsin, it's unlikely, but there's a decent chance that it goes likely to Boebert. I still doubt it, but there is a chance. And for Boebert's tilt states, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and Michigan. Actually, North Carolina's lean. If I can label everything right. Okay. So in Arizona, Boebert is gonna. I mean, like the suburban, the traditional conservative suburban vote probably won't turn out at very high rates. I see Boebert doing decent enough though with traditional suburban conservatives that do turn out. I see her having enough rural appeal to be able to do it, to be able to carry it. Even with AOC doing decent with the Hispanic Latino vote, I still see Boebert pulling through and carrying Arizona narrowly. In Florida, they're both pretty weak for older white voters and for suburbanites. AOC is just so weak for Hispanic and Latino voters in Florida and Miami that I'm going to give it to Boebert Tilt. Georgia, she's going to, Boebert, that is, I say Boebert is going to do very well with rural voters, whereas AOC is going to struggle with black voters to the point where she won't be able to do it, and she'll probably lose Georgia. In North Carolina, AOC is going to do pretty poorly in the suburbs, and do pretty poorly with the black vote, whereas Boebert's going to do decent with the working class, especially against someone like AOC, and do very well with the rural vote. And then Michigan, Boebert, it's very similar to Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, just a little bit to the left. Boebert's going to do pretty well with the rural vote, do decent with the working class. AOC is going to maybe do decent in the suburbs, and she's going to really struggle with black voters. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like below. Stay tuned for my next video tomorrow. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Please comment with suggestions down below, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye!